Hello, and welcome to Hike the South's first hike review. Today we'll be looking at Blood Mountain via Wolfpen Gap. This is one of the many ways up Blood Mountain. Personally, it's one of my favorite places to hike. This is probably the least popular route and also one of the more difficult routes, which is perfect for when the Byron Herbert Reece trailhead and Vogel State Park get really crowded. This route shares the Coosa Backcountry Trail and Duncan Ridge Trails for most of the way until you split from the Duncan Ridge and take the AT up the north side of Blood Mountain. So as you can see here, we're looking at hikethesouth.com page for Blood Mountain via Wolfpen Gap. This is a 6.3 mile hike. The difficulty is 16.5. That's a medium hard. That is a 4 out of 5 difficulty rating. I did this in a little over 3 hours. However, I think you could do this a little bit faster probably. When I went, there was a ton of fallen trees and branches blocking the path. Now, I did this in January of 2019. We had a lot of rain recently, and there were really high winds over that weekend, so I asked a few other hikers who had been here before, and they said it's not normally like that. I did give this a 4 out of 5 rating when I reviewed it, and that last star was primarily for all the fallen branches and trees. But again, I don't think that is the norm and should be cleared up probably by spring. So this is an out and back hike, so you'll be turning around and heading back the way you came. And you're going to go a little over 2,000 feet in elevation gain here. So we're not going to read the description through. I'm just going to kind of talk about it. I'll show you some of the photos. So the trailhead begins on State Road 180 at Wolfpen Gap. There is a very limited parking here, but again, it's not a really popular, trailhead. So there's about 3 to 4 spaces on each side of the road. Obviously, depending on how people park. There is another road that goes off this direction, so obviously you don't want to block the road and you don't want to block the trail. The trail starts on the side of the road that just has some pavement for parking over here. The trail starts like right here. And you should see a post for the trail. And the trail should pretty much head steeply uphill immediately. If it does not, you're going the wrong way. Again, this trail shares the Coosa Backcountry Trail, which is the green, with the Duncan Ridge Trail, which is the blue. You can see about the first 3/4 of a mile is definitely the steepest section here. This rises at a rate along here of about 1,100 feet a mile. So that's pretty steep. You can see the slope breakdown here. It's actually a pretty even breakdown, but you got about 0.7 miles that are at a rate of over 1,000 feet a mile. So that's primarily going to be along here. The incline right here is much less. It's more like 600 feet a mile, so it's really not too bad once you get over this initial part. This is kind of walking along the front of Slaughter Mountain. You don't actually ascend to the summit of Slaughter Mountain, and there really isn't a trail up there. A lot of people will kind of just bushwhack their way up there just to get to the summit. It is one of the top 10 tallest mountains in Georgia. But as you can see, you do get some views through the trees in the wintertime. Really, this hike, there's not going to be a single view the entire way until you get to Blood Mountain in the spring, summer, and fall. There's only going to be 2 intersections you come to. The first is where the Coosa splits off from the Duncan Ridge, and you just stay to the right. So from this photo right here, you're entering the photo from over here, and you're going to stay to the right to head up the Duncan Ridge. This trail right here goes down to the Coosa. There is another trail that you don't see that would be behind the camera that is a very short trail that just goes to a campsite. So this photo right here is right when you hit the AT, actually looking southbound along the AT. However, when you hit the AT from the Duncan Ridge, you will make a left turn heading up the AT northbound up to Blood Mountain. So heading up Blood Mountain, you're going to go through a few switchbacks, some rocky sections, till you get to the summit. This is the Blood Mountain shelter at the summit. And if you've never been here before, there's this large rock right here that there's a pretty easy way. It's not that hard to climb up on that rock, and you can see some people up there, or you can kind of explore around the sides. There is a pretty good view right up here. However, there's almost always people up here. You can see it's January, and I'll be honest, there are about 10 to 15 people up there. And the view's good, but there is a much better view. If you continue about 1/10 of a mile past the summit, you're going to go kind of start descending through some rhododendron tunnels. You might think you're going the wrong way and you miss the view, but you don't. You'll pass one view that again is pretty good, but if you keep going, you'll come to this really large rock face here that has a much more expansive view than the summit. So the hike here that I've listed on this page ends at this view. So going back down to the elevation graph, you can see over here you summit the Blood Mountain, and then you kind of head down about 1/10 of a mile, like I said, to the much better view. So we can look here on the terrain map. Again, you're heading up pretty steep here at first. Here's Slaughter Mountain. Again, you don't actually summit Slaughter Mountain, you just kind of go in front of it. Right here is where you're going to hit your first intersection where the Coosa splits off, then the Coosa comes back down this way. But stay on the Duncan Ridge. You'll hit the Appalachian Trail right here. You will make a left on the Appalachian Trail to head up. If you're heading down on the Appalachian Trail, you're going the wrong way. And one thing to note on your way back down, that intersection right there is really easy to miss because the Duncan Ridge kind of comes in at an angle, and when you're heading down, I actually passed it by about 1/10 of a mile, even though I have been down that way before. So just note it's only about 1/2 mile to the summit. So just keep that in mind. And again, here's the summit, and then here's the view. What Google lists is the Blood Mountain overlook. So, like I said, I gave this a 3 out of 4, or 4 out of 5, excuse me. And primarily, I didn't give it a 5 just because of the fallen trees and branches. Otherwise, I would have given it a 5. I mean, there's not, like I said, in the summer especially, there wouldn't be a lot of views on the way, but the views at Blood Mountain, at the summit and the overlook, in my opinion, are some of the best in Georgia. And this is definitely one of the most popular hiking destinations in Georgia. This route, being one of the least popular, is going to give you at least some solitude. I mean, the Coosa is pretty popular loop, but definitely if you're starting from the Byron Herbert Reece trailhead, you're going to be passing a lot more people than if you start from Wolfpen Gap. So I think this is a really good hike, and I definitely recommend it, especially if those other trailheads are full. Otherwise, let me know what you think. If you've hiked this hike before, feel free to leave a review on the site to let other people know what you think. Just a quick note while I'm here, reviews on my site, when you leave a new review, you can set what, obviously the rating, but then you can select what difficulty you thought it was for you. Because I know difficulty can be very subjective. So, if you found this to be very hard or very easy, let people know. And preferably if you say this was an easy hike and I'm saying it was kind of hard, let us know if you're an avid hiker. So other avid hikers know, hey, this might not be too hard if, you're really used to hiking. But yeah, again, like I said, let me know what you think of this format. I plan on going back through. I got a lot of hikes. And like I said, this is my first hike review. I'll be going back probably this past year of all the hikes I did and then moving forward. All right, well, like I said, let me know what you think. Check out all the links below in the description. See you next time.